While there are certain things that are better kept private, there are many more. For millennia, the ascent and descent of influential persons, nations, and empires have frequently depended on a solitary, divulged secret. Powerful shields and swords that can either protect us or bring us to ruin are secrets. However, what if some secrets are so important that they should never be shared with just anybody? The ancient Stoics were disciplined in silence and prudence, which kept them safe and preserved their dignity. They also knew the secrets well. In this video, we'll talk about 10 topics that, as a Stoic, we advise you to never discuss with anyone. See why they're all important and connected by watching the video through to the very end. 1 is the quiet wars you're fighting. There are a universe of stories hiding behind every face you see. Most remained silent, but a few sang out. These quiet stories, which are frequently very powerful, are woven from difficulties and personal experiences. Why? Because they challenge us to our boundaries and mold us and our perspectives. But via these internal conflicts, we are fashioned, just as the hardest steel is, in the purest fire. Epictetus gently reminds us that what counts is not what occurs to you, but rather how you respond to it. These lines hold the echo of many times when we have struggled with our thoughts, burdened by issues that the outside world has no idea about. Does this imply that we ought to keep everything inside? No, but it is about knowing whom and when to confide in. As you can see, while some may hear, hardly everyone pays attention, and even fewer comprehend. It is a personal decision to disclose these struggles. Therefore, one should proceed with caution and share only with people you have gained the right to trust. The desire to live life in the open is ever present in today's world, especially in light of the widespread use of social media. Everyone seems to be sharing everything. However, selective sharing has enormous power. Allow certain struggles to stay yours and yours alone. They serve as a personal medal of honor and a monument to your tenacity. Although it's common for people to go to others for comfort, keep in mind that not everyone can hear the depth of your music. Since true transformation frequently flourishes in stillness, as the Stoics thought, there are moments when listening to the music of your problems is best done in the silent temples of your own heart. 2. The whispers of self-doubt. Have you ever been on the verge of making a choice only to have the murmur of doubt draw you back? The subliminal voices in our heads that ask questions such, "Am I good enough? What if I fail?" are trying to push us back from our potential. A Stoic knows the importance of keeping these fears hidden, at least until they're completely acknowledged and addressed, despite the temptation to voice them out in the hopes that someone will disagree. You might wonder why. This concept, taken from the ancient traditions of Stoicism, advises that engaging our internal dialogues instead of amplifying them for the world can be a transformational experience. For it's not external events that trouble you, but your own judgments about them. The world frequently has a tendency of amplifying our fears, particularly in its current state. When you confide in someone else, a deluge of contradictory counsel appears out of nowhere, adding to the chaos of uncertainty. Instead, think about using a different strategy. Come to terms with these murmurs in the quiet room of reflection. Allow your comprehension to be the salve, not the views of innumerable others. Talk to these voices, confront them, and perhaps even try to reason with them. There's unparalleled strength in valuing isolation in these modern times, when any feeling may turn into a public spectacle, particularly when controlling the restless voices of self-doubt. They don't need the world's attention, they need yours. Would it not make more sense to patch up a leak in a boat in private before letting everyone see it go down? 3. What you have planned for the future. Have you ever been the target of someone else's intense attention, wondering what you would do next? Keeping your plans for the future with a quiet dignity instead of letting them become conversation starters at the dinner table has a very powerful effect. You are entitled to treasure your hopes, ambitions, and objectives. You may keep things mysterious and unpredictable by not disclosing every detail. Even though everyone is so willing to share these days, there is power in keeping your cards close to the vest and believing that deeds speak louder than words. Numerous examples of people who overpromised about their ideas just to watch them fail may be found throughout history. Consider Napoleon Bonaparte. Although he was an unmatched military genius, his overconfidence, publicized intentions, and underestimate of his opponents frequently proved to be his downfall. The stark warning that disclosing too much might be fatal is provided by the Battle of Waterloo. Business tycoons such as Howard Hughes were also known for keeping their initiatives a secret, which kept rivals always one step ahead. It serves as a lesson in the strategic value of discretion and the power of unexpected. We are more connected than ever before, and social media platforms encourage us to share our plans with the world. But Stoicism serves as a reminder that it can be beneficial to take a step back and adopt a more measured attitude. You not only safeguard your goals by keeping your future plans a secret, but you also give yourself the flexibility to adjust and grow without outside interference. Seneca's wise words, "If a person doesn't know to which port they sail, no wind is favorable," float through our minds like silk. It's a powerful reminder to chart our route, but to share it only with ourselves and only when absolutely essential. Keeping your future close at hand does not imply fear or uncertainty. Quite the contrary, it represents a deep comprehension of the dynamics of the world. You're not holding back to keep things secret. Rather, you're protecting the integrity of your path and making sure that when the world sees your steps, they're steady, purposeful, and always one step ahead. Fourth, the allure of overindulgent comfort. Although it may seem paradoxical, there is a natural sense in hiding our frequent ventures beyond our comfort zones. When you disclose every difficulty and deviation from your usual routine, the intention frequently changes. All of a sudden, you're looking for praise and recognition for your daring or bravery. However, the Stoic method emphasizes inward development over external approval. Maybe keep it to yourself the next time you decide to get up an hour early to read or decide to go for a stroll in the rain just to feel alive. It's a personal journey, not a spectacle. His conquests are legendary, and historical accounts speak of Alexander the Great. But Marcus asked himself, is it for the sake of appearances or genuine progress? Over time, even yet, he would share his soldiers' food and sleep on the ground while enjoying whatever luxury he could muster. He didn't do this for show. Rather, he did it to keep himself grounded in reality and avoid being lost in the illusion of ease and wealth. Even while we may not be in charge of large armies, we nonetheless face enormous problems and actual fights. Mountains are shaped by wind, rain, and uphill paths. Remember this in our ever-changing world, when comfort is just a click away. In the same way, we are shaped by our trials, especially the ones we silently embrace. Enjoying your comforts is fine, but don't be afraid to venture out on those sneaky excursions. We discover the versions of ourselves there that we frequently forget exist. 5. Your weaknesses and susceptibilities. Every hero, so the saying goes, has a weakness that even in their greatest power could prove to be their downfall. Because of their wonderfully flawed nature, humans are a combination of strengths and weaknesses. These weak points, the unpolished, sensitive areas of our minds, should be shielded, not exposed. Treating them with the respect they deserve is more important than keeping them hidden or refusing them. A voice reminiscent of Epictetus mumbled, "Man is affected not by events, but by the view he takes of them," implying that our viewpoint on events defines us rather than our weaknesses. Accepting one's weaknesses is crucial. They serve as reminders of past injuries, lessons learned, and even anxiety about upcoming conflicts. They are also quite private. By making things public, we open ourselves up to criticism from others, which can occasionally distort how we perceive or accept them. By addressing these arguments in private, we strengthen our position and make sure they're not misapplied or misinterpreted. It offers us an opportunity to address them and turn them from areas of weakness into opportunities for improvement. Many historical figures kept their weaknesses close at hand, utilizing them as motivators rather than as deterrents. despite being acutely aware of them. For example, Abraham Lincoln struggled with periods of sadness and suffered several setbacks. Rather than sharing these difficulties with the world, he accepted them and let them influence his empathy and leadership. On the other hand, Julius Caesar's weakness, which ultimately led to his terrible demise on the Ides of March, was his faith in close associates. These historical incidents emphasize how crucial it is to acknowledge our weaknesses, treat them gently, and make sure they don't lead to our downfall. These days, oversharing is commonplace. There might be a tremendous amount of pressure to be completely transparent and to bearing one's soul. Still, there's strength in chosen quiet. Acknowledge your weaknesses, nurture them, and work on them. Nevertheless, do not feel that you have to expose them for public scrutiny. You can leave part of your book's pages unopened. Mysteries are alluring in their own right, and often the best chapters are the ones you skip. 6. Your complaints about yourself. It's been said that harboring resentment is similar to ingesting poison and hoping the other person dies. It is, for the most part, a fruitless endeavor, a burdensome burden on one's shoulders and a persistent murmur in one's ear. On the other hand, opting to handle personal complaints in an inward stoic manner fosters inner balance and self-control. By deciding not to let out every annoyance, you develop inner fortitude and learn how to solve issues on the inside without letting your energies get wasted. There's a hint of Epictetus here, who observed at one point that it's not things that upset us, but our judgment about things. Think about it. By sharing every irritation or displeasure you have, you're indirectly seeking approval for your emotions while simultaneously spreading negativity. By being silent and reflecting, you give yourself the space to consider whether your complaint is legitimate. Is it something I can control? Does that have an impact on how I feel? When we engage in this kind of reflection, we frequently come to the realization that many of our complaints are unfounded and unworthy of our time. For the ones that are, confronting the issue head-on rather than merely talking about it can be far more fulfilling and fruitful. Looking back through the ages, we find tales of people who, to their own harm, allowed their personal grudges to control them. Think about the terrible tale of Alexander Hamilton and Aaron Burr. Years of personal and public disputes led to their deadly duel, which was the culmination of their mutual hate. Both men suffered greatly. Burr lost his reputation and his own melancholy introspection over his decisions, while Hamilton lost his life. Their experience serves as a sobering reminder of what happens when one lets personal issues control their behavior. The fast-paced culture of today frequently encourages us to rant as a kind of treatment. Stoicism, however, suggests the reverse. It's about taking care of complaints from the inside out, figuring out where they came from, and behaving sensibly instead of rashly. The next time that familiar sting of annoyance comes on, stop and think. Consider whether bringing up this complaint will make a difference, or if it will just stir things up. Because sometimes the best response is silence, and the greatest victory is serenity. 7. Your personal achievements and successes. Whatever your accomplishment, there's a calm satisfaction in finishing a task. However, we are frequently forced to broadcast these moments by the speed of the current world. On the other hand, the Stoic path encourages us to value and accept our achievements on an internal level rather than looking for approval from others. Why? Because internal validation is real and long-lasting. Sometimes, broadcasting accomplishments dilutes their importance, reducing significant life events to simple subjects of conversation. Not that sharing accomplishments with loved ones isn't a source of delight. It's an appeal to discernment, to understand that not every triumph requires a crowd. It's about understanding the distinction between expressing happiness and looking for approval. Internalizing and valuing our own development and accomplishments helps us become independent and draw power from within. This independence serves as a barrier, keeping us safe from the erratic ups and downs of outside validation and judgment. There are several stories in history of people who celebrated their accomplishments publicly, only to suffer unanticipated repercussions. Consider the story of Icarus. Despite not being based on a true historical individual, the story is rooted in universal human nature. He disregarded his father's warnings and flew dangerously close to the sun, enjoying the rush of flight. He fell into the sea as his waxen wings melted. His urge to push boundaries out of pride and recognition, combined with his arrogance, proved to be his downfall. Humbly accepting victory doesn't minimize its importance. On the contrary, it amplifies it. The constant connectedness of the modern era presents several issues. However, it also presents chances. Take a moment the next time you accomplish anything. Feel it, treasure it, and then consider carefully with whom to share it. 8. The quiet desires of your heart. Have you ever discovered something so small and unimportant that it made your heart skip a beat? Maybe it was a dream you had hidden away. Maybe it was just a simple wish to pick up a new instrument. Maybe it was dancing in the rain. These tiny private desires are frequently lost in the din of our everyday existence and remain whispers. It makes perfect sense to want to share these ephemeral moments, these little goals, with other people. It says in a small voice, share it, and it becomes real. But does it really? If you voice these dreams too soon, more often than not, people's unsolicited opinions will stomp them underfoot. Not everyone will get your sudden interest in gardening or your want to learn how to play the ukulele. And that's okay just fine. Looking back in time, the esteemed philosopher Socrates never wrote down his ideas. As a silent Stoic philosopher once observed, threading wisdom through the generations, dreams whispered to the heart are for the soul, not the crowd. He taught Plato most of what we know about him. However, here's the interesting thing. Socrates' actual ideas and desires remain mysterious because he doesn't express them explicitly in his writings. What tiny aspirations did he hold? The wonder of it is that we might never know. It serves as a potent reminder that not everything has to be shown off. It's best to keep some treasures close to the chest. In a world where everything is visible, take a moment today to relish the dreams you haven't yet told anyone about. Allow them to flourish in your heart's quiet moments. And maybe let them go once they're strong enough to face the world and accept both praise and criticism. Guard them until then, for they are your silent hymn of hope and your hidden strength. They are the magic just waiting to happen, at your speed and on your terms. 9. Your individual development. A deep metamorphosis takes place inside a caterpillar during its cocooning process that is not visible to the outside world. Imagine for a moment that caterpillar felt compelled to announce every little step forward. Not only would it be annoying, but it might even prevent it from changing. Like this marvel of nature, there's an unquestionable holiness to keeping the specifics of one's own development private. Every step you take to improve yourself, every epiphany or insight you gain, is a priceless gem. The worst part is that not all valuables are meant to be on show. Certain things are intended to be experienced deeply, to reverberate within your soul. This is not meant to be a defense of complete quiet. For some people, sharing can be therapeutic or even inspiring. The Stoics, on the other hand, place more emphasis on the value of introspection than declaration. Seneca once said, "As long as you live, keep learning how to live." Notice that he did not say, "Keep telling everyone how you live." Seneca was putting his wisdom into words. These days, taking pictures of everything has practically become second nature. Sometimes the spirit of the experience itself is lost in the haste to post a personal milestone on Instagram, vlog about inner challenges, or tweet a message. Pause before you divulge. Is this a true connection, or are you just seeking validation? The distinction is important. Recalling the Stoics once more and possibly thinking back to Marcus Aurelius's Meditations, one comes to the sobering conclusion that life is opinion and the cosmos is transformation. There are many different perspectives on transformation because it is a very personal experience. There are moments when rowing softly over the broad waters of personal progress is more effective than calling every turn. The destination in the end, your transformed self, will ultimately speak louder than any update ever could. 10. The soft ups and downs of your feelings. The broad strokes of happiness, sorrow, love, wrath, and a myriad of other emotions are painted on the canvas of life. Even though it's usual to show off our emotions in public these days, particularly in the age of real-time status updates and stories, there are still benefits to keeping some emotions close to the vest. Restraining oneself doesn't mean suppressing. Rather, it means realizing that emotions are very private, frequently intricate, multi-dimensional experiences. Sometimes the outside world isn't kind when it comes to genuine emotions. Therefore, sharing them in real time can not always reflect their actual meaning. Emotions, when gently held, emerge in their own cadence, revealing subtleties we frequently miss in haste, as a Stoic could gently remind us. Consider the well-known Stoic Marcus Aurelius, the Emperor of Rome. Despite his stoicism, he wrote down his intensely emotional inner thoughts in what are now known as his meditations. These were not lofty declarations addressed to the world, but rather private thoughts intended only for himself. His reluctance to share every reflective moment with the world serves as a mirror for each of us. How frequently do we actually sit with our emotions before letting them spill over into the outside world? The world of today rewards rapid thinkers, but keep in mind that it can be wise to give emotions time to settle and fully comprehend them before speaking about them. Not everything is worthy of a post or narrative right away. When feelings are held onto and thought about, they might develop into new insights or change completely. Give your emotions some space the next time they are too strong. Give them room to breathe. These are, after all, your own travels through the wide world of life, and not all travels require a companion. Certain journeys are best taken alone and should only be shared when the heart so desires. We appreciate you coming along for the ride. We are unable to continue providing informative content to every corner of the globe without your help. Please feel free to mention any topics or ideas you'd like to see covered in more detail in the comments section. It is the driving force behind our mission to provide you with even deeper insights. Of course, please press the subscribe and like buttons if you enjoyed today's content. Together, let's maintain the knowledge fire blazing brightly. Watch this video before you go to learn about anti-Stoic behaviors that could be present in your everyday routine.